Hello everyone, and welcome back to Vaulthalla. Since the last episode, I've been running a lot of vaults, so I can start to get my vault level up, start getting some vault gear and loot. I've got myself a few different vault axes, which I've been enjoying using a lot as my main weapon of choice. I've got a pretty nice set of armor, honestly. It looks very swag, as the kids like to say these days. We've got a few vault shields as well, but I've only got the vanilla model so far. And then we've also got a lot of just the general loot. I'm slowly figuring out what all of this is used for, and we will be using some of this in just a second. I have been collecting knowledge essence, crafting those into knowledge shards, and I do believe I have enough of these now to get my very first skill point. So let's see, let's craft this up. We need a knowledge core, and then we turn that into a knowledge star. Consume that. We have an unspent knowledge point. And this is really exciting because knowledge points are what you use to unlock, where is it? Mods. This is honestly my favorite thing about Vault Hunters, is that instead of just having all the mods like thrown into the pack and all unlocked at once, which can be pretty overwhelming with some mod packs, you have to get the knowledge points by running vaults, and once you've got knowledge points, you use those to unlock certain mod recipes. So there's a few here that only cost one knowledge point to use, such as colossal chests, simple storage network requires 2, okay, or drawers. Those 2 would be really good for the storage problem. Pouches would be nice as well because they're essentially like backpacks. There's a lot of mods in here that I've not touched before, so I'm keen to try playing around with them, but there's one mod in particular that I am aiming for and I'm saving up all my knowledge points for, and that of course is Create. I absolutely love the Create mod. I've been playing around with it for the last few months on just like regular mod packs, I guess you could call them. And as handy as it would be to have these storage solutions or the pouches, I'm gonna save my knowledge points. I'm gonna try and get 6 knowledge points, and I want this to be the very first mod that I unlock. So we're gonna leave this alone for now. I'll run a whole heap more vaults. I think I figured out how to get the knowledge points relatively easily, and for that, we're going to be using abilities. At the end of the last episode, we unlocked the heal ability, so I could actually, heal myself in vaults, and I had unlocked a whole bunch of other abilities as well. However, we are currently on update 5. Actually, we're about to upgrade to update 6 in like 2 hours. But in update 5, they reset all the skill points because they rebalanced like how many skill points different abilities take to unlock. So I don't have any abilities again. I've gotten all my 8 skill points back, which is actually kind of nice because I had started to play around with some and I got a good idea of what's going to help me the most for the early game. And of course, obviously, we're going to want heal. But the other abilities that I was looking at were Dash, propels you a distance in the direction you are facing. That one is really handy. I'm going to unlock that again. But we also have Hunter. Highlights chests inside the vault in a radius for a duration of time. This one is very handy. And they have changed up how it works. It used to be that the specializations were like, I forget how many there were, but one of them was that you could highlight the vault objectives, which was pretty handy. It's good for finding the monoliths or the obelisks, but they've also made it so you can highlight and detect different types of chests. I'm going to specialize in living chests, because living chests are where you find the most knowledge essence. And because we're after that Create mod, we need as much knowledge essence as we can get. So for now, these are the 3 abilities that I'm going to have. I can upgrade them, make them more powerful, but we also have talents. So I think for the talents, strength would be nice, but I think I'm in a good spot with my damage right now. So we're going to grab 1 level of haste, and I'm going to grab a level of speed as well. And that's going to be all of my skill points spent. Oh, I feel so much faster already. With our skill points spent, we aren't actually finished upgrading for vaults just yet, because we have a bunch of vault workstations that we can craft now. I do have this vault pickaxe that I crafted, and this has its own upgrading system. So like I've put some enchants on it. You can still put some enchantments except for mending on it. But we have a tool vise. And if I plonk this into here, we can upgrade the durability, we can upgrade the reach, the mining speed, and I don't know what copiously is. But what I really want to upgrade is the mining speed. So we got haste as one of our talents, and we can upgrade the mining speed from 1 to 3, which is going to use up, again, more of the stuff that we've been collecting from vaults. So like the vault plating, chromatic steel, netherite scrap. I've got 41 netherite scrap. You find like so much of it in vaults. But let's go ahead and get the mining speed upgrade. Ha ha ha, mining speed plus 1.49. Seeing as I've still got enough resources for it, might as well upgrade the durability as well. Now the reason that I'm going for all these mining speed upgrades is mostly because of the spawners in the vaults. They kind of take a little bit of a while to mine, and what I've noticed is that a lot of the times if I don't get to them soon enough, they will spawn mobs as I'm trying to clear out the spawner, which you probably saw in the last episode. So any speed boosts that I can get to get rid of those is going to make my life so much easier inside of vaults. Let's go ahead and also craft up the bounty table. I believe this gives you like extra objectives to complete inside of a vault. So what have we got here? Find 15 knowledge essence in the vault. Oh, well that's what I plan to do anyway, so might as well activate that one. We could get a nice shield, we could get maybe a nice chest plate. And with all of that set up and everything upgraded that I wanted to get upgraded, I think it's time we test out everything and run another vault. What have we got? I have a Furious Vault. More damage. Oh, that doesn't sound fun. Okay, that's fine. It is a living vault, which does mean we should be finding more living chests and thus more of the stuff. The skill? No, knowledge essence. Do we have any living chests? Yes, there we go. We've got a bunch underneath. This is why this hunter ability is so cool. Okay, let's deal with whatever spawn is in here first. Oh good, it disappeared on its own. Perfecto! I'm actually just gonna block this off. I really don't want to deal with stuff while I'm looting. Let's have a look. Oh, 5 knowledge essence. Let's get all of that. Another little bit there. Yes, we can grab those as well. And this. Is that all the chests? I think so, yeah. I shouldn't be trying to loot all these other kinds of chests. I really should just be trying to get through as many rooms as possible and just get as many living chests as I can find. Oh yes, there we go, bounty complete. Oh, that does not look good. Alright, I'm actually going to pillar up for this. I haven't needed to pillar up in a while. Oh, it's an elite, no wonder. Okay, yeah. May need to pillar up a little bit higher, actually. Oh yes, more living chests over here. Yeah, we'll just yeet ourselves across, I guess. Well, this may have been a bad idea. Okay, we're good. Worth it. Definitely worth it. What are we at time-wise? We're still at 6.5 minutes. Let's have a quick look for some more monoliths. Definitely enough time to... Actually, you know what? Let's forget the monoliths. 4 minutes is not enough time to find the rest of the monoliths. But it is time to find more living chests. 2.5... Oh, actually no, let's make our way back to... Let's make our way back to the portal entrance. Ouch. Once I get back to the portal entrance, if I have enough time, I might check some of the rooms around there for more living chests. Minute and a half? That's enough time to like dash into there, scan for living chests. Not really enough time to fight anything. Oh, it's one of these rooms. It would be a good idea to get a bit more vault stone. I'm not sure if I've got enough chipped vault rocks to make more crystals. Okay, let's do this for the next 30 seconds. You know what? That's enough. I don't want to risk messing this one up. I've gotten so much good loot. And I finished the bounty. Let's just call it quits and head home. Oh, 4,000 experience. Okay, that's actually pretty decent. I don't know why I put this portal outside. That was not smart. We opened 14 living chests. 10 gilded, 2 ornate, 33 wooden. 96 mobs unalived, 1 elite mob. Oh wow, that was worth 1,400 experience. Okay, I'm glad I got that then. We got 44 knowledge essence. Oh, I gotta see, how much can I make from this? So we turn those into knowledge shards, and then the knowledge shards need to go around a knowledge core, I believe. Wow, that actually doesn't make as much as I thought it did. So we got another 13 knowledge shards. I'm 3 knowledge shards off another 2 knowledge points, which then means that I have, let's think. Okay, so I'm almost at halfway to getting the create mod. Well, that should only take me a few more vault runs to do, but we shall leave those. Actually, wait, I forgot the bounty crate. What did we get from here? This is what I'm curious about though. We've got the unidentified vault chest plate, unidentified vault shield. This is how I've been getting all this vault gear, is that you find these these unidentified pieces, and then when you right click on them, they'll randomly choose their stats and how they look. Okay. Level 0, common gladiator. Interesting. I don't quite understand how the stats and the levels work because my equipped one is level 6 and this new one is level 0, but the new one's stats are about the same as, if not slightly better than the level 6 one. I'm not sure if that's just because of balance changes in the updates, but it might not be too bad of an idea for me to run a few vaults with this chestplate, because it does give me that extra 2 health. I can use all the health I can get right now. Doesn't quite look as swag, but you know, sometimes staying alive is better than swag. Not always, but sometimes. Let's see if we can get a pretty swag shield though. No. That's the 4th vault shield I found, and the 4th vanilla the 4th vanilla looking one. But that's all the vault hunting I'm going to do on today's episode, because it is time to get started on another building project. So I'm located kind of far away from spawn. I ended up, let's see, about 5,000 blocks away from spawn. So obviously getting to and from there is a bit of a pain. So I need to work on a nether portal. I actually have a temporary nether portal that I've been playing with. It's just down here underneath my pumpkin patch. It gets the job done, but honestly it's not really all that aesthetic. So we're gonna fix that because I want to set up a proper little portal area for both the nether portal and for the vault portal. This one here out the front of the house has served its purpose quite nicely, and honestly it doesn't look all that bad. However, it was originally meant to be just a temporary thing. I was going to have it just the frame, like the nether portal. However, I am going to tear this down, because right about here, I want to build a nice little area for all my portals to sit side by side. Now, normally when I'm doing a build, I always love to do like a little time lapse, like what I did with the starter house. However, it is a bit harder to do time lapses in Vault Hunters because usually I would use replay mod and then come back and make a time lapse out of the replay afterwards. However, replay mod is only available for Fabric and Vault Hunters is on Forge. So instead of doing a time lapse, I'm going to kind of slow it down a bit. I'll do a little bit of chunk of building and then I'll walk through what I've done and my thought process behind how I'm doing things, and we'll go through the build together step by step. To start off with, we are going to need to dig a hole, because this build is going to have quite a lot of terraforming going on. I want to make a big old hole going down to the ground, try to make it look natural and sort of overgrown. Obviously first we are going to need to dig out the hole, so I have my trusty netherite shovel here, and let's just get rid of all of this quickly. This is also why I wanted to get the speed upgrades on the vault pickaxe, because I don't have a beacon yet, although actually that really wouldn't be too hard to do. But we have enough work to do here without getting distracted with the wither fight, so we shall use the Vault Hunter's speed upgrades, and with that, we should have this done in no time. So, this here is the rough shape and size of the hole we're going to be building the portals in. My idea for this build is that I want it to be like a whole bunch of old, ancient looking, sort of falling apart portals that are a little bit underground in a little like overgrown underground area, with the lore sort of being that these were portals made by an ancient civilization and they are things that the dwarves came across later and repurposed, well actually not repurposed, but reactivated and started using again. So we're going to be going with like a very rough, a very worn down, a very like overgrown sort of look. Right now this hole doesn't look very rough. It is very like, you know, very perfect circles. Once I finish clearing out the whole thing, I'm going to come through and sort of like rough up the edges, change up the shapes a little bit, make it all a little bit more irregular. I always like getting just the basic shapes down first, and then we can start adding in details later. The floor here actually needs to keep going down even further because it's going to be like these portals. There's going to be a bit of a pond down the bottom, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish digging all of that out. And right about now, I'm starting to regret not planning to take on the wither first. Actually, that wasn't all that bad. I only had to dig down like an extra 3 layers to find this body of water that I was after, which is actually connected to the massive cavern system I have just behind my starter base. So eventually we might build a pathway between the portal area and this massive cavern, and then eventually the Dwarven Kingdom, which is going to be more over this way towards the east. Although that's going to be it for the shape of the hole. However, I do still need to make a path from the starter house down to the portals. But the pathway to the starter house is going to go out towards the east because that roughly connects up with where my nether portal is. So it's kind of like, well, it's just behind here. I had to fill in some of this cave, but I need to do a whole heap of terraforming of here as well. I need to lower this down. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with this cave over here, because this one also kind of leads to the cavern. So maybe what I'll do is that I'll use this cave to connect the portal room to the cavern. But again, I'm not quite sure how much I'm going to use this cavern for builds, because this is not the main area that I want to build the kingdom. The main area for the kingdom is going to be out just around that cliff. Instead of blocking out any primitive shapes for the entrance area, I've pretty much just dug this all out freehand. Mainly because this is meant to look a whole lot more like organic and more, I guess, more eroded. It's more like paths that were built into the caves that were already here versus this area, which is meant to be more like, it's meant to look like it was dug out. So I've hooked it up to the cave that I pointed out over here, which leads to the cavern. However, I also need to do the same thing over on this side, because there was another little cave through here, which I kind of had to block off for the main structure. But this cave as well also leads to the massive cavern, but actually at like ground level. So I'm going to go through, clear that out as well. Same sort of like, just do it freehand, make it look nice and messy, kind of like what I did here, which is the pathway up to the starter house. And once that's done, we can start working on the actual portals themselves and start adding in a whole lot more detail. That will do for now. I'll finish up the bottom part here once we actually start getting into exploring the cavern. But for now, as long as it looks okay from the entrance, that's kind of all that really matters. So for the actual build palette, it's mostly going to be made out of blackstone and basalt, which we're not going to be running out of that anytime soon, I don't think. Although I will be surprised if there's anything left of that mountain by the time the series is done. I tend to use a lot of the blocks from it in my builds. For the shape of the portals, I want to make them all circular. I just really love making circular portals in Minecraft. It's kind of fun trying to figure out how to fit a rectangular nether portal inside of a circle and make it all look natural. So for the main circle shape, we are going to be using blackstone, but once again we are using some of the fancy textures from the chipped mod. But we're not just going to use the good old full-size blocks to make the circle. We're going to make use of the fact that we have vertical slabs, so we can incorporate some slabs into smoothing out the shape a bit better as well. So I can add vertical slabs on the sides here, and then get some regular slabs and put them there. It just adds this like, whoops, let me get rid of the dirt so you can see it. It just adds this really nice like, well, yeah, you can compare the two. It's got a really nice curve here versus that, which is, you know, one of a million different reasons why we desperately need vertical slabs in vanilla Minecraft. Then to fit in our nether portal, all we gotta do is just like fill in these spots. We can leave out the corners, thankfully. And then we can cover up the outside of this with some more vertical slabs and regular slabs. And with another layer of blackstone added to the other side, we have one very fancy looking circular portal. But now I need to go ahead and build a few more of these to fill out the rest of this space. And do you remember how earlier I said I wasn't going to do a time lapse? I lied. That's enough of that for now. This is what we've got so far. We have 4 different portals set up. So we have another portal here. We have our vault. We have our Vault Hunters portal over here. And yes, I have left some holes in the path, going for the whole sort of ruined and worn down vibe. We've used a mix of like basalt slabs and, well, different variations of basalt, and a little bit of cobbled deep slate as well to make the center pillar area, which that does go all the way down to the bottom because I do want to make most of the stone under the water and even up here a bit. I want to make that darker, so you sort of got a gradient going from like dirt and grass at the top to stone to some darker shades down here. But as I was finishing up these portals, I remembered that vein miner is a thing in Vault Hunters. That's would have helped a lot with clearing all this out. So I've just gone and run a few more vaults, and now I have that set up. So if I were to go over to, let's go over behind here. If I turn on vein miner, currently because I've only got like 1 level of vein miner, it only mines out like 4 blocks. And well, it's actually going to help with roughing up the shape of everything here as well, because it does it sort of, oh, hello. It does it in this sort of like, I don't know, very random-ish pattern. So we can use that to make everything look a whole lot more organic. Oh my goodness, I just fell down there again. In hindsight, maybe I've made this place a little bit too ruined. That's looking a bit better. Although, actually, I may just fix this bit up. I'm not quite happy with how this here looks. And now we've just got to work on the shape of this top area. So this is where the water feature is going to come from. I'm going to make it come down through here, fall down, and then like have a little waterfall going through that center portal just there. And this is the fun part where we get to make it look a little bit less perfect, not quite so perfectly circular. So using the circle as a guide, I'm going to just kind of dig out a bit of a shape. I will have to take these bits of dirt here out. So let me start by planning out where the water's going to come through. So I want the water to come down behind the portal, so through here, and then run through the portal, and then down into the pond down here. And that's going to help influence the shape of the rest of the hole, because what I need to do is that when you're making these sorts of like worn down builds or environments, you want to think about how the place was formed as time has progressed. So for example, we've got this water stream coming through here. So over time it has eroded away at the hole and it's like slowly made its way back to here, and now it's coming down through here. And so as part of that, I am going to get rid of some of the top of this portal, like it's also kind of eroded away the top of the portal. Yeah, I definitely think I've taken a little bit too much out of the sides here. It's very much a process of trial and error doing these more like organic terraforming sort of things. You can like, you add blocks in, you take them away, you carve things out. It's very much like sculpting. So, you know, you just got to keep looking at it, making sure it looks right. And I guess that's kind of the hardest part is, well, figuring out what does and what doesn't look right. But that comes from getting references, building up sort of like a visual library inside of your mind, so that when you come to design a certain type of build, you're like, okay, this is the kind of way that I would do these kinds of details. It's not often at all that someone like makes the build entirely from their own creativity. That's pretty much impossible to do. But then the trick with references is to make sure that you're not actually directly copying someone else's build. When I look at references, I don't look at like the entire build as it is. I break it down into, here's the shapes that they've used for certain structures. Here's the details they've used in the smaller parts of the build. Here's the kinds of palettes they've used. And then, you know, over time you build up your own sort of like favorite palettes to work with, favorite details to use, and then you can like mix and match them all, and that's how you make your own builds. I might actually add another layer to the bottom of here because I do want to carve away at this. Same kind of process as these back walls here. I want to carve away at those to make them look a bit more naturally curved. We'll go ahead and add another layer of dirt down the bottom, and then we'll carve that away. And then I can just get my vein miner pickaxe out again. And yes, it does work on dirt. That's good. That's good. And let's just clear this out. And then we can just come on through and fix up all the bits that look a little bit weird. I may still need to build up some of the bits underneath, but we're going to do that as I start to replace these blocks with different materials. Because while it is starting to look more natural, it still looks very bland and boring. So I'm going to go ahead and collect a bunch of different blocks. Mostly things like moss and cobblestone and mossy cobblestone, I guess. We'll start to blend those into the shape as well. Start to add some details in through those. And to start with, I'm going to spread some moss around. And now we're just going to go through and, with the power of randomization, we'll add a little bit more detail, a little bit of texturing. As we start bringing the texturing down below the top level of the portals, I'm going to start thinning out how much dirt there is, because that's where we're going to start to blend in the deep slate and the basalt, kind of similar to this down here. That's looking pretty good as far as dirt goes. Maybe I'll see if I can just sneak another dirt block in here. Oops, nope, not in front of my face. Thank you very much. I've fallen in this hole so many times. Why did I think this was such a good idea? We'll start fading in the darker colors probably around about the middle of the portal, I think. So I am just going to keep going around randomly like this, just picking out a few blocks here and there to change up. So that's looking pretty good for a rough gradient from the lighter to the dark. And then pretty much I'm going to replace all the stone from here all the way down, probably like even the floor of the pond. And we'll replace that with all of these blocks here. So we've got the basalt, we've got deep slate, getting a little bit darker towards the black stone. Hopefully that doesn't start to blend too much with the portals though. So I'll probably keep the black stone for like just down the very bottom. Actually, while I'm down here replacing these blocks, I might even just build up a little bit around the edge here to try and blend this and make it look a little bit more natural as well. This looks so much better than I thought it would. I came back and I got some of the gilded deep slate? No, gilded blackstone. I got some of the gilded blackstone, started scattering it around everywhere, and this whole blend, it looks so cool from under here. Up the top, the effect is lost a little bit with these shaders because the water is not quite the clearest. And actually, if I turn shaders off, it's even worse. But that's okay. I'm sure I'm going to continue to fall down there accidentally many times. So at least it'll look nice when I fall down there. So that's all the texturing done for the different block types. I'm actually thinking of coming in and getting some slabs and like putting some vertical slabs, some horizontal slabs around, adding some more extra details like that. However, I might come back and do that later because the next thing I want to work on is adding in some vegetation. Because so far we've got it all overgrown looking in just the block textures, but now I actually, yep, there we go, fell down once again. But yes, now I want to actually add in some proper vegetations like vines dangling down. I might see if I can find some, ouch, some glow berries. And there we go, just over 1 stack of glow lichen ready to go. Or should I say, ready to glow. So now I've got the glow lichen, the glow berries, and the vines. However, I do want to see what other sorts of vegetation I can find. I'm thinking like some of the stuff from the nether, the warped vines, I think they're called, and the crimson roots. But I was just looking through all the blocks that Chipped adds in. They've got different versions of the pointed dripstone. Like we've got pointed deep slate, pointed stone. Those would all look really good in the build as well. Well, I guess this is a good opportunity to take this nether portal on its maiden voyage. I don't know if that's the right term. The portal's not actually going anywhere. But let's not think too hard about it. So we have a whole heap of extra biomes added in the nether from other biomes you'll go, such as these brimstone caves, and I think some of these biomes also add their own vines as well. Ooh, actually, what are these on the trees here? Bloom branches. Ooh, those could look pretty good as well. Maybe I'll grab some of those. I think I should be able to bone meal these as well. Oh, nope. It is time for me to leave. Jeez. I forgot how hard they hit. Wait, actually, I needed a bunch of the vanilla mushrooms as well. And I think we all know where to get those from. That's right, we're going back to the mushroom biome at spawn. We now have a pretty huge selection of different plants and whatnot to mess around with. I want to start with some mushrooms just like around this area down the bottom. So let's see, can I just place a few around? And then we can just put some brown ones in here. Try to get a little bit of variation going on. And let's see what these warped vines look. Warped? No, I keep calling them warped. They're weeping vines. Let's see what these look in here. I'm not sure if they're going to be too red. And we'll dangle some glowberries from the higher part. So we'll keep the weeping vines from more around this stone level. And we'll put the glowberries up here where all the moss and all the dirt is. That should be enough of those. I want to let those grow naturally for a bit, and then we'll come back and we can trim them afterwards. And let's try putting some of these different pointed blocks around and see how well they fit in. Okay, that actually looks really cool. Yeah, we're definitely going to put a lot of that around. And now that just leaves us with all of the plants that are going to go on the sides of blocks. So let me head back up here. Probably need a little bit more height for the vines because they're going to come down pretty much from like right at the very top. I don't know if I like that color or not. It's a little bit on the lifeless looking side, I guess. Looks a little bit too dried out, but maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll work bringing a little bit of yellow into this build. And I think for these bloom branches, we will try sticking them around, probably around a similar kind of level. Let's see, how do they look against the lighter stones? Yeah, okay, that works. They look kind of cool around the top. Now we just got to scatter some glow lichen around, and those I will keep for around about here and downwards. Okay, that's starting to look so magical with the glowstone in there now. We've got it all nice and decently lit up. We're starting to get some of the glowberries coming down and lighting up the place too. And down below, I hadn't thought of this earlier, but having all that extra light down there does make it easier to see the floor. And so yes, you can also see a lot more of the gilded blackstone as well now. Oh man, I am so happy with how this is looking. I think all I really want to do now is I want to put a few more vines on the portals themselves. Ah, here we are back down here again. I think all it's really left to do is to do the trees at the top. And we also need to fix up this water feature here a little bit. I'm mostly going to use like mossy blocks here because, you know, it is covered in water. So let's start by just sort of building up this section back here, make it look a little bit uneven. That's looking a whole lot more finished now too. And I think that's pretty much everything on the inside done. Up the top still needs a bit more work. I want to fix up this water pool here, and I want to sort of like turn it into a bit of a stream going into the mountain. And then I also need to figure out what trees I'm going to put up the top here. This front entrance area definitely needs a lot of work as well. But I might save that entrance for a different project, because I think I also want to put sort of like a little bit of a ruined watch point. Maybe a little bit of a ruined tower here. So I think we'll just figure out the trees up here for the rest of today's video, because I am starting to run out of time. But let's have a look and see what saplings I've collected so far. Okay, so I might put one jacaranda. Let's put one jacaranda here. Looking good. I love how the leaves sort of like reach out and then dangle down. Okay, so let's try and put one not exactly on each corner, but sort of offset from each corner a little bit. So we've got one there. Let's put one here. And then we can fill in some of these little gaps here with some azaleas. Oh wow, that's actually looking so cool. Oh, that is amazing. And now the vines are starting to get to a good length as well. I'm still not quite decided on the color of these vines, but it's all starting to come together so nicely. And now all that's left to do is to make this back portal here look a little bit more ruined. And then trim some of these vines. And that, I'd say, is going to be it for this build. Of course we had to fall down here one last time. I am so happy with how this has turned out though. I did like a very rough draft in creative mode first, and I was pretty happy with that. But doing it in survival, I just ended up experimenting a whole lot more with different palettes and different vegetation. And honestly, this is probably one of my most favorite builds I've ever done. I don't think I've ever used like this much detail in a build before. It helps that we've got like so many extra block types that have been modded in. But for someone who never really does terraforming or work that much with organics, I'm insanely happy with how this turned out. Well, I've let the vines and everything grow for a couple of hours, and yeah, I don't think these vines are gonna work. They are just too yellow. I mean, obviously they are also way too overgrown right now, so let's just trim that a smidge. So I'll have to see what sort of alternatives I can find. But that's all that I've got time for today. I'm going to run a few more vaults in between episodes, and by the start of the next one, we should be able to start getting right into the create mod. But I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. It's been fun trying something a little bit different, trying to break down my creative process when it comes to doing more detailed builds. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye!